Hi, this is Kathy and Ernie from Borrowed Land Farm. And now that we have grown some mushrooms, we are going to show you guys how to cook them, what to do with them. Mushrooms are not, a lot of people are not used to using gourmet mushrooms in their cooking, so it's not that difficult. It's actually pretty doggone easy, but might be kind of daunting if you haven't done it before. Would you say that's correct, Kathy?
Any cooking is daunting if you haven't done it before, I think.
Solid point, honey. Good job. Thank you.
All right.
All right, let's do this. We've got some golden oysters here, and we've got some gray oysters here. And we are just going to do the simplest of simple mushroom cooking.
We're just going to saute some mushrooms.
Saute some mushrooms.
So first thing I'm going to do is I am going to heat it up on medium-high heat, heat the stove up on medium-high heat with a pan, and I'm going to keep the pan dry.
Dry pan, medium-high heat.
Yes. There are a couple of ways that you can prepare the mushrooms to go into the pan. One way you can do it is simply by shredding the mushrooms like this. Yep. They shred very easily.
And we should say, when we harvested these, we cut all the bits of substrate that were hanging on, and where there was like solid mass at the base, we cut that off. But if you find like bits of stem or something that are tough, you can save those. And you can make really good broth out of it. You can save them with vegetable peelings and whatever other stuff you've got, and you can roast it with onion and celery and then make a broth. And then next time you make rice, you can cook your rice in that broth instead of water, or you can use it for a soup base.
Pasta,
yeah, pasta water. Yep.
Okay. I'm just going to cut up a few mushrooms here, because one thing that's also very important with mushrooms is you don't want to crowd the pan.
Yeah, so also there's even just dealing with oyster mushrooms. Oyster mushrooms, what we say about them is that they're the gateway gourmet mushroom. Like if you've not really had gourmet mushrooms before, this is a great starter, and if this is as far as you go with gourmet mushrooms, you could do a lot worse. They are a really versatile mushroom, but within the oyster mushrooms, there's a lot of species of oyster mushrooms, a lot of varieties, and they all, I would say they're kind of like tomatoes. What would you say, Kathy? Kind of like tomatoes in that there are different varieties, and you can tell differences if you tried the varieties side by side. But
it's nice to have a mix sometimes.
And at the end of the day, they're all tomatoes. That's the only way they're like tomatoes, I would say. Okay.
It's not quite hot enough yet, so I may as well cut up a few extras that I don't have to put in the pan yet.
Yeah, what would you say the difference is between these golden oysters and the gray oysters? Would you say that there's a noticeable flavor difference?
There is, unless you're really looking for it and you're tasting them side by side. I don't think there's a big flavor difference so that you would taste them together and notice them as being different. But if you're really doing a tasting and focusing on it, I think that the yellow ones have a little bit of a almost peppery sort of finish to them. They're a little more, I guess peppery is the best word for it.
Interesting. I would say cashews. I would say really nutty, kind of cashew-like.
Like raw cashews or toasted cashews?
Like toasted cashews, actually. Good question. But I would say that. And, one obvious thing is that they're really delicate compared to a lot of the other oysters. But I like to cook them a long time and bring that nuttiness out. Now, at the opposite end of the spectrum from them is pink oysters, which are super fleshy. And those are one that we like to put on a George Foreman grill. We will actually shake those up with some olive oil mixed with hot sauce, paprika, and salt and pepper, and shake them up and put them on the Foreman grill and let them go till they get crispy on the edges and kind of burned lines in them. They're really good that way.
All right, so once they hit the pan, you can tell the pan's pretty hot because they're starting to sizzle.
Mm-hmm.
And
now, aren't they going to burn on there since you don't have oil in there, honey?
they are going to release their water. If they do happen to stick, I'm trying to stir quietly. If they do happen to stick, I've got some broth here. You can also use wine.
Yeah, that was a trick question. I already knew the answer.
Mm-hmm. Sure you did. But you can tell they've got that initial sear on them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're starting, you can tell there's some steam coming off, so they're starting to release their water.
Yep.
And oyster mushrooms do have a significant water content, so they are going to cook down. But you also get a really nice, that sear on them as they cook down. If it's a hot pan and it's dry, that gives them a little bit of a crispiness. Mm-hmm. And I know some people they don't like a wet texture with their mushrooms. So it's nice to get that initial sear on them and then let them lose their water in the pan.
Yep. Yep. So, I mean, you could have done quite a bit more mushrooms in there. I don't want people thinking that you've got to do like half a serving of mushrooms at a time.
No. I would also usually use a bigger pan, but I just wanted to be able to demonstrate this pretty easily.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, it sure smells good. If we had smell-o-vision, we could demonstrate to people how good it smells. They have to do it themselves.
Not hard to do.
Smells really good, though. Some of these are going to go on barbecue grill pizzas tonight. Family dinner pizzas. Yeah.
Sorry. Having a little fun.
Fun noise.
Yes.
Those are looking pretty good. Do you think they've released most of their water now?
I think not quite. And they haven't stuck. If they do, just add a little bit of broth.
Okay.
Or wine. Wine is also good.
Now let's say you're just learning to use oyster mushrooms and you've got these kind of sauteed up now and you're trying to think, what do I do with them now that I've got these sauteed mushrooms?
Oh my
What
gosh.
would you say for a person just trying these for the first time? They've just grown them and they're dying to try something fantastic and impress their significant other or their kids or whoever.
Honestly?
Yep, honestly.
Risotto is awesome.
Risotto, I'm talking something easy.
Oh,
Didn't I say something easy, honey? You said risotto? Maybe they could make crepes with them? Come on. What do you got?
Sure,
What do you got? What's
a
something
crepe
easy they can
maker.
do with this?
Eat them by themselves.
Yeah,
Use them as a topping on something.
yeah.
Put them on pizza.
Yeah,
Let them cool before you eat them by themselves.
yeah.
There are a lot of things to do with them. Put them on a sandwich.
I would just put some scrambled eggs with them,
Oh, that sounds
Some
good.
scrambled eggs, a little hot sauce, a little cheese. Bada bing, bada boom, be delicious. Well, what do you think? Is there anything else you want to say about this? I mean, this is basically, once you get to this point, even if you have, say, a plethora of mushrooms, you could do this for all of them, and then you could store them in like a Tupperware or something in the fridge, right? And then use them as you wanted. Right?
One other thing I would say is normally if I were going to eat them plain, I would also add salt, pepper. Before I took them out of the pan, I'd probably stir them with some really nice olive oil, maybe a little bit of garlic.
Yeah, garlic's a good thing in there.
We're putting these on pizza,
Yeah.
and they're pretty good just like this. They've got a really good umami flavor, but feel free to add any kind of seasonings.
Yeah, a lot of times we'll go a little we'll go a little heavier on the cooking than that and get them to where they're kind of crispy on the outside.
Actually, mushroom.
But yeah, they're really good, and we'll try to do some more ideas that are a little bit more involved. But if you're new to it, maybe this will get you started. Really easy to do. You could see all you needed was a pan and a stove, and it's delicious just like that. It's enough to impress your friends. What do you say, honey?
I think that's it.
All right, good job. Love you, honey.
Love you too.
All right.